Hello everyone, I'm Arshi Adhikari. Welcome to the Expert Talk Show. On previous episode, we talk about neuroscience profession. I hope you watched the show and find it useful. If you haven't watched or if you missed the show, please follow in our channel and you can watch the full episode. On today's talk, we're gonna talk about civil and structural engineering. My guest for today is Chartered Civil and Structural Engineer registered in UK and Australia. He has more than 30 years professional experience in civil and structural engineering throughout various countries including Nepal and UK. He has MSc in structural engineering in steel construction from the University of Sheffield. He is currently working as a freelance civil and structural engineer, currently involved in global physical operation engineering, old fuel services, Europe, based in London. So I'd like to welcome Mr. Ghanashyam Paudyal. Welcome to the show, Ghanashyam sir.
Thank you, Arshi.
So on this talk, we're going to talk about your academic life and professional career. We try to finish the program in roughly 40-45 minutes.
Okay.
So I'd like to start with your childhood dream.
I don't know why, but since the beginning, my childhood dream was to be an engineer. And those days, engineer means civil engineer who design infrastructures and work with. We didn't know how many types of engineers in other disciplines were those days.
So it was in 1980s or even 70s?
It was in 70s.
Right, okay. So and what it was like to be an engineer at that time? Like
hardly you could visit some engineers there. Very difficult to get them. And whoever were, they had pretty good social reputation as well as obviously earning as well. And basically I was attracted with their social status and the reputation, I think. And another thing I think why I was attracted is something you design, you dream and design, and that is built in front of you and people will use it and admire it, you see. That's the main reason why I was attracted with this profession.
That's quite interesting. I think at that time probably a handful of people who were engineers, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we are talking about the context of Nepal 40 years back, so people who don't know how it was in Nepal, so we just try to capture the memory on this talk.
If you look at the Viratnagar, which is second largest city obviously, and
that's where your hometown
is.
That's
my hometown. So if you look at the Viratnagar, I think at that time when we were talking about is hardly 5 or 10 engineers would have been there in the entire city. So that's how it is. It's really significant profession at that time. My skilling, I am one of the unfortunate guy who changes 5 schools before I complete my high school. So it's from my village and another village, and ultimately it was in Viratnagar, yes.
So Viratnagar and periphery.
Yeah, Viratnagar Mills area is the one where my
and then
last high school
and
was.
Then you moved to Kathmandu for further study.
No, I mean I finished my schooling thinking that I will start civil engineering. Unfortunately I could not due to some family reasons, and I had to study in Viratnagar campus. I studied intermediate in commerce.
Oh, okay. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I studied for 2-3 years. It took 3 years, actually 2 years course.
I mean, at that time it was called ICOM, right?
ICOM, yeah. We used to call it marketing, finance, accounting, and business administrations, and those were.
I hope you didn't really enjoy those subjects.
I did, interestingly, yeah. I did enjoy it. I passed it as well. It was difficult to pass those days.
I can imagine.
Passed as well. But by the time I finished the course, the situation was good, and I started civil engineering in Kathmandu. I passed ICOM, but never took the certificate.
Is that someone on your family who told you that you can have further education in Kathmandu? Is that
that's the friends? Yeah, that's the high school mates. So we were trying to go to Kathmandu. We couldn't, but when we could, we were all there.
Okay, right.
So that's how it works. I joined straight away Institute of Engineering to do the certificate level in civil engineering, which is sometimes called diploma in engineering as well, overseeing as well sometimes.
Yeah, overseeing term was very popular.
Very popular. Overseer is a position actually, rather
exactly.
Yeah,
I think
But once you complete those 2 years courses at that time, you become civil overseer. So you start working on this field. So that's how it used to be.
I think it's probably because we didn't have enough manpower to work as a, qualified engineer at that time. That's why there was opportunity for people who completed the overseer program.
Yeah, not that actually. In reality, that's the mid-level workers, and mid-level workers are highly in demand even now. So engineers do not do all work, obviously, isn't it? They need all helping hands on it. And those are the good helping hands. So
right. Okay.
that's how it is actually.
So the trend is still same.
Still there, yeah, still there. They sometimes called junior engineer or startup.
After school education in Pulchok campus. At
Yeah.
that time it was Thapathali.
Thapathali was mechanical engineering. Civil engineering was in Pulchok, and Pulchok was the only one at that time. Now no.
Throughout the country.
Throughout the country. Not now. Now many, but
Yeah.
at that time, yeah, that was it is. So I started civil engineering first 2 years, and even before I concluded that one, I started my professional career. And my first appointment.
So while you were studying, you started the professional career as well.
My work was started.
Sounds like you were really smart on
Yeah, I mean,
balancing
I
the
started
life.
there, and then during during college vacations and these things, I was hired to. My first appointment was structural steel work fixing supervisor. So that's how I started.
Probably for people who just started academic life to be in the profession, what was it sort of challenging at that time, or you got the job so easily?
Yeah, no, getting job was easy for me because I was working a family-owned company which was owned by my cousin, so that has been easy for me. Why I started civil engineering instead of going to ISC, the science course, is that I didn't like to take any chance. If I do very well, I'll do further engineering. If I didn't do it, at least I could be an overseer, and that was the reason why I started in Pulchok rather than Askal or somewhere else.
Right. And then you also pursue the graduation from Pulchok as well.
Yeah, what I did is once I finished my overseering, then I went back to the same company which was offering me the part-time job. So I have been full-time there, and then as a partner I started to work with them. At the same time, I tried to do Bachelor's of Engineering in Pulchok campus. The entrance examination used to be pretty harsh, obviously.
Because it was only one.
It was only one, and I remember that in our batch, I think the entrance guys were more than 1,200 applicants, and the seats available for gentlemen was only 22.
Wow, that's.
Okay. So you need to be really competent in it. Unfortunately, I was the 7th. Okay.
Wow, that's quite impressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
You were working and you were sort of studying. How did you balance your life at that time?
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Sometimes I was not a great student, and sometimes I was not the great worker. That's how I balanced. Okay.
But you're sort of fit on the both.
Yeah, it should be best fit anyway. So what I did is during the B course as well, I shifted our company, which was a fabrication company, from Biratnagar to Hetauda, and Hetauda to capital city Kathmandu. So when I was in 3rd year in the Bachelor's of Engineering, my company was already started work in Kathmandu. So it has been easy for me to tackle with, so morning, evenings, or weekends, or sort of. So that's how we do. And I continued the same profession after Bachelor's of Engineering as well.
So how long you were working for that company?
Yeah, I started in 86 in different forms, obviously. And then after completing BE, I continued the same company. We uplifted the company to a high level, obviously. I worked for around 9 years. In 91, I graduated from Pulchok, whereas in 99, I started this master's in Sheffield. So
you were mentioning that you were also teaching in Nepal Engineering College for a bit.
Yeah.
How's that experience?
Really great, actually. I'm assistant dean at that time, I think. He suggested me you should be involved in the teaching so that you can bridge the professional practice to teaching. Okay, that's one of the best things need to be done, really. So for that reason, I started to teach, and the first batch I taught steel and timber construction in Pulso campus, Institute of Engineering, from where I was graduated. And after that, Nepal Engineering College requested me to look at that one. So
you moved from Pulso?
Yeah, it was part-time anyway. I was busy in my office. I just go there, lecture.
You were having full-time job, you were teaching on Pulso.
Yeah, teaching in Pulso, only one subject, so that was easy. Maybe 4 hours lecture or 5 hours lecture
per
week. And that is alternate semester. So in one semester you need to, next semester you don't need to. So it was okay. I could balance it. But after that I started in Nepal Engineering College, where I taught up to 1999. That is around 7 years, I think, I taught.
So throughout this education and professional life at that time, which life you were entertaining most?
That's a great one. Yeah, the both were entertaining, but the interesting thing is, when I entered into the classroom, that was enjoyable, really, and I forget every troubles and every problems. Really.
I think like knowledge sharing is a very important.
Really good, yeah. Knowledge
meditation,
and experience, both goes to the student, and when you start to talk about Nepalese projects, Nepalese working people, professionals, and Nepalese course over there to Nepalese, it's amazing experience. So I never feel tired while teaching, and teaching is my one of the passion as well. I love to teach. That's I am.
What was the reason you decided to come abroad for study?
Yeah, that's the main reason is saturation in my feeling.
I mean, you started doing similar work all the time, and then you just feel
need to broaden the vision. So that's the reason why I thought that okay, it's the time to go for masters.
How's the college
amazing
like?
It is. I mean, when I started in Sheffield,
probably there would be less Nepalese people in the university as well.
Yeah, in my university there was around 32,000 students.
At that time,
one of the best, obviously, Sheffield, and I was the only one Nepalese in.
Wow.
That's what written in the board there. Okay.
So you are the only one full-time
Only one
student.
full-time I was. Yeah.
You had a background in civil and sort of structural engineering, right? So you never tilted to go for civil engineering. You just picked the structural engineering. Was there any particular reason to pick one of these?
My view is civil and structural engineering, these are not quite far away. No, they are merged together. So I am civil, that's graduate, and one of the thing is structural engineering, so I entered in the same field, right?
Right. What was the other preference I mean, if you were able to select?
At that time, nothing, because I have my company, I was doing steel structures, I am teaching steel structures. I couldn't think anything more than that, really. I was really focused.
That's very interesting.
And that's the reason I came Sheffield and did my masters, and there are different modules and you could tune yourself differently, but I straight away passed to this.
Did you have enough time to celebrate in the weekends, or you just focused on the study?
Yeah. My graduation was late, and after that 8 or 9 years I worked and then only came to there. So the master's student, whoever was in my classroom, most of them were pretty younger than me. So I was a bit matured, experienced student over there.
So social life didn't go well?
Yeah, no. My wife came to help me, so she was with me. Some of my family members were in London, so it was okay.
So it's more like a gentleman time.
More like gentleman time, you can say that, okay.
How was the transition from university to the professional career here in UK?
Everywhere. Obviously the masters in Sheffield helped me a lot. My vision was broad, and I could face even the challenges that I never thought about initially. So that's the strength I got.
What was like a job market at that time?
Good question. Job market was far better than now, I would say. Okay, because the construction was booming or doing well at that time. It was nice.
Sounds like it was easy finding the job.
Yeah, not easy, but
so you had a university has a very big impact on finding the job.
Yeah, during university I used to go to the fabricators. I did modules in a way. Modules, not core theoretical modules. I used to do some practical modules, basically.
More like elective ones.
Yeah. So I selected modules in a way that I could know the practice here, because that was my motto, and that's the same thing helped me while I've been back.
Sounds like you need to be smart enough to find out what exactly you are looking for your career. So I think it's quite important during the university time, isn't it?
It's really important that which way you will be focusing your career. If you want to be a core designer sitting on a chair and doing pretty difficult work, that's some module you can select to do that way, right? I was more a business person, engineering manager type of people, so for me knowing all the practices and everything was more important, so I was focused with that, which is common, isn't it?
I think it depends on person to person, but I think we also need to realize what is the personal strength where we fit in the career progress. And I think
it does.
That's you are chartered engineer. What exactly this means?
Okay, chartered engineering is kind of leveling you where you are. What is your professional know-how? Okay, it's a kind of worldwide we do that. Here for civil engineers, you need to go to the Institute of Civil Engineers. For structural people, Institute of Structural Engineers are there, or in Australia where I did as well, which is basically it is Engineers Australia, so they look after both civil and structural there, so that's how it's the basic aim is there are some attribute that you need to have the experience and knowledge. Those attributes, 9 attributes or 11 attributes, which different institutions said differently, those attribute means you have the technical capability obviously, which your qualification justifies as well, but still they will check. The second thing is you have the engineering management capabilities. Third thing is that you have the beyond the engineering, you have managerial skill, managerial know-how, social know-how, how to react with people, or those sort of things.
So more like a soft skill as well.
Yeah, soft skill as well. And on top of that, you should have been at least 6 months or sort of at site. You need to have site experience as well. You need to have design experience as well, and you will have the signing authority for any design or anything. So unless you do the chartered, it means that you might be pretty good in one or two aspects, but you might not be have fished some of the aspects. Some people do not do chartered throughout the life because they never go site, let's say, for an example. Or some people never involved in management, but they're pretty good designer, very nice, but never involved in engineering management, let's say, and you will not be chartered.
What kind of people you would suggest to go for chartered engineer?
In my belief, every engineer should be focused, should be trying to do chartered. Okay, even if you are a very good and great, brilliant designer, you need to know the rest of the part of the engineering, right? My point is, every engineer after graduation, you practice for 3-4 years, and you start to think about chartered. And whatever attribute you are not meeting, you focus to meet them. That's how it should be.
And what was the reason you did for Australia? I mean, you are registered for Australia as well.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, I was in mining. I was working in mining, and mining, I mean, hardly you will find some mine where there are no Australians. Okay, and I was working in a consulting firm where we were looking at globally all mining projects. And there were some even mandatory requirement that you need an Australian chartered engineer to apply for this mining work.
What exactly the difference between civil and structural engineering?
Civil means as a whole engineering, that means roads, infrastructures, buildings, everything. Structural is also similarly scattered everywhere it will be, but structural also deals more how to define the element, what is the strength you need, okay, more mathematical, more focused.
So is it correct to say you build the house, you need a civil engineer to sort of design the house, but you also need a structural engineer to measure the strength of the house? Is that
kind of, yes. Columns, beams, slabs are the elements, core design and final design, what is the rebar, what the size should be, what the steel section, those are the structural engineering.
How much it can hold.
But overall building, overall layout, where the garden, how to lay out, that's civil engineering.
So it sounds like, the backbone is structural engineering and the front bit are civil engineering.
Yeah, in a vague sense, you can say some very generalized term.
It's very, very interesting to get the idea.
Agree, yeah.
And I don't have that, knowledge, so I just want to gather
that's fine to say to some extent, yeah.
Very interesting. So what's your day-to-day like right now?
I mean, I am in a core global engineering team where I lead civil and structural engineering.
Yeah.
I have my mates who do mechanical engineering, instrumentation and electrical engineering, system engineering, all sort of. So it's a core team, and my company has thousands of, actually nearly 4,000 they say, physical facilities throughout the globe. And we look after those properties, expansion, extension, new design, build, or even demobilize sometimes.
So you involved from the very much start to the delivery and then maintenance phase of the project.
As a client engineering, not as a contract or not as a physically working at site. But we create the project and we define it, obviously, and then we hire consultant or contractors or whoever needed to get the job done, really, and then we financial analyze as well, financial modeling.
So I know you work on quite few mining projects. What's the workflow on mining project like? It's quite fascinating.
In general,
in general,
a mine, since they start conceptualization of it to get the product is, takes some time, pretty long time. Some of the mines might have 100 years, or some of the mine projects 30-40 years easily they will take. It's quite long process.
So normally 30-40 is like
average, yeah.
Average.
A good size of mine, if it take
half
30 to 40 years, it's not surprising to me. There are some mines which when conceptualized, materialized within 10 years as well, sometime, but very rare case those things. Okay, mining as such is a different scope that I never walked really.
Yeah.
So people investigate geology, get the mine, quantify it, check their chemistry and everything, and they find this much volume of this 1 million ton or whatever is this sort of mine is here, which we can actually extract and work for. So that's mining portion, which is not my scope normally.
Yeah.
My scope used to be from that point when we get the mine defined.
I mean, once we define the mining and we say, okay, this much of product we're gonna get from this mining.
Yeah.
Then that's where your work starts.
Yeah, my team, let's say, overall team, used to work from the time where the mine is defined till the time you get gold or silver or whatever it is. Chemical engineers and process engineers define the process and these things. Mechanical engineers define the equipments and everything. Electricals supply electricals and whatever needed. Instrumentation engineering you need. Civil and structural you need. You need every discipline of engineering there.
Let's say if we wanna look into the mining process, what's the process like?
It depends upon the mineralogy there, what sort of compound you are having there, and what you are getting. Like, for example, the gold, let's say, if you say that, it might be in different type of compound, and then according to that, the process engineer define what is the best way to go with to extract it, right? So in that case, sometimes heap leaching, a cheaper way could be there, or CIL process could be there, or it is complex, or some sort of acidic reaction is required, then possibly we go for BIOX method as well. And what is the degree of CIL, what is the degree of leaching?
And these are all the different framework based on the different type of material.
Yeah, obviously. And material and composition of the mine as well. But again, I have worked with many materials, including zinc and nickel, you define separately. If gold is with silver, you find separately.
Going to gold mining and working there is quite fascinating for the people who are not really on that industry. How's the difference between zinc or silver mining and gold mining?
Many equipment could be similar, but yeah, it's a different chemistry obviously, and different process obviously. Yeah.
How much investment we need to extract something from the mine?
Again, I mean, it depends upon the size. General size is 400-500 million dollar, or sort of is the normal size we start with. But I've seen some projects more than 2 billions we have worked with.
You work on, very different places in different geography and different mining. What was your challenges?
In different places there are different challenges. Okay. I remember a project in Kyrgyzstan, I think, where the ambient temperature, the design temperature, was minus 43 degree or so. Egypt, let's say, for an example, where the design temperature was plus 45 degree.
Yeah.
Okay. So you need to tackle differently with cold weather construction, hot weather construction. Okay. And some of them could be in very flat region. I remember one project in Kazakhstan where water was flowing nowhere really. So it was nearly flat. Up to kilometers, your gradient was hardly a meter or less. So entire water, whatever precipitation is there, is coming down there, either it is penetrating or evaporating. So in those circumstances, you need to tackle them differently. Right. So it depends upon. Sometime like Greenland, as I said you, we had a project where we need to climb with a monkey ladder.
Wow.
To a good extent. Later on we fixed a ropeway there to entrain it, and then we started to drill the tunnel inside the mountain, which is a complete single monorock type of mountain.
Wow.
Okay, and the entire plant was inside the tunnel. Sometime one project I remember in Canada, 10 kPa is the bearing capacity. It's like cake. So
much soft,
and you need to build your entire plant pretty heavy, like including 1200-1500 ton mill machines rotating. You need to build there.
I know you have experience in archaeology as well, especially in the context of Nepal, particularly in Lumbini. What was the reason you started?
Okay, interesting. The MIEAust is a special case basically.
I mean, it is listed on the UNESCO heritage
as well. It is UNESCO heritage listed, and one of the prominent in the world, because it's we are talking about the temple,
and that was built
at the place where Buddha was born. 2500 plus years ago Buddha was born.
Yeah.
So we have a record that 2003 years ago roughly, King Ashoka was,
so 2300 years
ago. Since then we have a record that people were worshipping there. Okay, even before it should be, but we don't have the
information.
Yeah, so it's quite important obviously,
and quite historic
as well. The temple, whatever it used to be, broke by the tree, and then we had to demolish those all things. It took nearly 10 years to get a approved solution for that structure basically,
because it has to be approved by UNESCO.
And UNESCO guidelines are
with
quite
their
harsh.
guideline.
Quite harsh they are. And then several people tried several options. Lumbini Development Trust assigned Institute of Engineering Consulting Services to look at again. And at that time again, the basic problem of Lumbini MIEAust temple was to get a proper structural solution which can satisfy all the norms. And all of a sudden Professor Premnath Maske suggested Professor Jivraj Asrit, who was the dean at that time, and he was leading the project, suggested my name to get into find a structural solution of this one, and that's how I actually pulled there. But it was I'm pretty grateful for both these professors.
You had opportunity to work in one of the vital project, counted as one of the most prominent heritage in the world.
Yeah.
How's the experience?
It's not just a project, it's my lifetime project, I would say, and it's something very important to the world.
Yeah.
And I was the one who gave the structural solution to that. So I feel pride, definitely. But
we definitely feel pride as well.
Definitely feel pride, but equally I'm very grateful to Professor Maske and Professor Jivraj Asrit. Couple of months to decide and design, and the target was 4 months actually. Within 4 months it should have been finished.
Well, you are also one of the founding member of SONI UK, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it's a Society of Nepalese Engineers in the UK. since 2006 we started to think that why not to have a society within the Nepalese engineers who are working in the UK, so that the experience and everything will be collective, and so that it can be utilized back in the country or somewhere whenever needed, and we can interact each other, help each other as well. So that was the main objective, and we founded Society of Nepalese Engineers in the UK. I was one of the founding member and vice president, and then I was a president in last tenure as well for 2 years.
For someone who finished the university level education or master or bachelor education and they don't really have any professional experience, what sort of thing they have to prepare themselves to jump into the professional life?
Okay, like selecting a subject core, I mean, normally people look 2-3 things, isn't it? One is whether you have a scope in future or not. That's number one. Number two, you will be whether you enjoy that one or not. You need to enjoy that. That's definitely quite important. It is. But if you don't have a scope and you enjoy something that doesn't have a scope, then possibly it won't be much suitable. Again, at the same time, whether it is rewarding you enough or not. So those are the 3 important things that a fresh graduate need to think on it.
I mean, overall prospect of engineering role, I think it's a well-paid job in most of the cases, depend on the country.
Yes, engineering is among one of the well-rewarded socially as well as financially, right? We can say that in one aspect. But in another aspect that you need to be engineer for that, and you will nearly spend at least 1/3 of your life to be an engineer. So your investment is quite high as well. Okay.
I mean, we are talking about not just academic, but you need to have proper professional experience to be an engineer.
Yeah. So I mean, it's quite involved and quite demanding to be there as well, and you are rewarding. I mean, rewards in such a sense. In my personal feeling, if you ask me, for civil and structural engineer, the reward is yes, okay, not great or not less, but it's doesn't apply for all. I have some experience with very nice experience with working people, pretty highly paid civil and structural engineers or geotechnical engineers as well. You are part of the building your society as well as building your world, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's something different, yes, obviously.
Yeah, very, very different.
Yeah, you are part of the solution.
Let's say if you haven't picked the engineering profession, what would be your other profession, or is there any preference, or you never thought about it?
Actually, I never thought about, but I never thought about being anything else than engineer since my primary schooling, I think. But if I need to choose something else, that would be teaching.
You have all these years in mining industry, and Nepal is sort of developing country. So do you see if there is any opportunity for the investment in mining industry? Have you looked into that perspective?
In Nepal, you mean?
In Nepal, yeah, especially.
Yeah, Nepalese mining. I mean, I worked for 12-14 years in mining globally, and looking after the mining projects, mining prospects, their legality, their complications, their policy levels, and everything in varieties of countries in the world. And if you compare that one in Nepal, it is still in primitive age. I mean, very, very little we have done yet. The mining has been institutionalized, and it started to do in 1926 in Nepal. But yet we are not developed much, really. I can see some movement in basically limestone. I can see in the country because the cement industry is booming, and cement production, we are nearly self-sufficient at this stage, pretty nice. But if you compare to with other minings, I think even the investigation level, we're not quite great yet. We need to learn a lot by the other countries, the other best countries, other worst countries, and we need to learn from them. And there are some more complications as well. You are in federal configuration now, and our constitution is clearly said 3 things. 1, environmental friendly mining. 2, you need to imbibing the intergeneration judicious. That means you need to model in a way that the old generations will be benefited by that one. Not just like 10 years you do and run away. No, not that way. So that's number 2. And number 3, it is saying you there, the benefit of the mining and mining resources need to go to the local level, local people. Okay, that's quite important.
And that's a good guideline for the country.
I have never seen any constitution defined like this. This is one of the great things we did, really. In this new constitution, these 3 things are quite clearly defined. Okay, so that's the basic guideline for mining. Now the task for the country, for us, is to define the rest of the things to meet these 3 objectives.
With the policy around.
Yeah, with the policy around, set up it. And at the same time, you are from one state to federal states now, so you need to manage all of your laws and all of your regulations, guidance, everything to be changed like that. So that's what we need to work first, and after that only, then possibly we can learn from Afghanistan model where Mr. Karzai applied there, investigating and categorizing national mining initially, and then asking the international community, the international investors to invest on these categorized and listed mining projects. So that's how you can market it, right?
I think that would be the approach. We are very much at the end of the show, so I'd like to ask you what sort of suggestion you want to give to the fresh graduate who just passed out of the university. I know we pretty much covered throughout the conversation, but is there any specific thing you want to ask fresh graduate to look into?
You do something that you enjoy, obviously, and you'll be looking for rewards and everything as we discussed. But at the same time, you need to feel it. If you don't feel it, you don't do it. Engineering is not mathematics. Okay, that's hard. That's how it should be defined. It's not mathematics. People confuse with that one. You find some calculations and you got a result and you just apply the result. It's not like that. It's integrated with all of the resources, problems, societies and everything, okay? And for that, you cannot be a calculator, okay? You need to be a proper professional. To be a good professional, you need to be a good human being first, okay? And that's the first thing. And the second thing is, you need to have the knowledge of a broader sense. Okay, just engineering, just calculation, such thing doesn't work really. So you need to be broad. If you want a guideline towards which you should be focusing or orienting yourself, if you want to do that, the first thing I would again advise is to look at the chartership process. Okay? If you try to meet each and every attributes
of the charter guideline,
that's the way you need to be a wise professional. Even with ethics, even with honesty, even with everything, the chartership will tell you what to do with and what not to do with. So that's the best guide, I think. Every graduate, whoever I meet, I tell them that, have you started work? Yes, look at that, and that's where their focus should be.
And that's very helpful. Thank you very much for your time. I thoroughly enjoyed the whole program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been good to talk to you and see.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed today's talk. If you have any questions or feedback, you wanna leave us on the comment box below, and please subscribe to our channel. And if you wanna directly reach out to our expert today, Ghanashyam Paudyal, please email us at the.experttalks@gmail.com or hello.rcadhikari@gmail.com as well. So we'll come up with a new episode next time with the new experts. I hope you enjoy the show, and please don't forget to subscribe our channel. Thank you.
Thank you.